Hey mamas, in these times when we are so stressed, overworked, and overloaded, we forget to put our logic back in. We forget our mom intuition. And what I want to remind you of is that the way to gauge how your child is doing is if you need to, just put school aside for a second. Maybe you could even think about the summer months when they weren't in school and you want to say, are they doing better now than they were? Are they listening better now than they were? Do they have less emotional outbreaks? Have you changed their diet? Have you watched yet that food has a connection with their anxiety, their depression? Have you noticed that if you have them on ADHD medications, have you noticed that maybe that's causing more of a negative effect than a positive one? So when you get your child to where you think that they are at least doing better and better and better, I don't want you to be so quick to move those goalposts. I've talked about this before, but I want you to also just understand that you don't want to compare your child to the neurotypical peers that they have. I love to tell the parents that I coach, who get very upset. They might have a 7-year-old, for instance, who is doing a lot of behaviors that typical 7-year-olds don't do. And I say, but yeah, wait a second, but we just changed their entire diet. You've been putting them on fermented veggies. You are watching their emotions come down. You're watching as their behaviors are being downgraded to not being something that's so chaotic in your home, but rather more of an annoyance or a nuisance. These are all amazing things, right? You have to remember that for many years, your child has been literally on the battlefield trying to fend off all these sensory issues. And some of them have been so drugged in their brains that they've actually been very, very quiet for years. When you started to heal their gut, you actually woke them up. You removed layers of that drugged state. And so now they're a little bit more wild, you would say. And you're thinking, are they better? Now they're wild. And I'd say to you, they're just waking up. And so you look at that, you work with that. And then you say, wait a second, okay, I am noticing, wow, they're actually speaking in more complete sentences. They're not just knocking into other people when they walk. Or maybe you have a child who always was wired and alert and fast. And maybe now they're less likely to be crying all the time. And maybe now they're less likely to fall apart. And maybe now they're less likely to stay up late at night. And maybe now they're less likely to wake up so early in the morning. But you need to understand that if you're seeing this, this is evidence of a brain healing. We're always removing layers. We're just pulling back the layers and we're getting to the healing. So when we see that, we have to say, this is a healing crisis right now. We're going to move through this. You then don't go, and you should be understanding how to do fractions, and you should understand how to read in complete sentences, and you should understand how to color within the lines. See, you've moved so far, you've made these other sorts of goals that, yeah, maybe they're nice for neurotypical children, but you're healing a brain disorder. So if you're not able to let your child be okay with not color inside the lines, but he now speaks in a full sentence, or he now doesn't tantrum as much, then that's a success. That's a success. That's what you want. You don't want the quiet kid who might either be drugged, not by actual medication, but rather just when a body is so on fire that they're almost so quiet and they're so withdrawn, they're so inward. You want them to open up. When you start cleaning up that gut and all of a sudden they seem to wake up and they have all these behaviors, it's okay. It's okay. But realize this, you have to meet them where they are. So if you have a 2nd grader or a 4th grader or an 8th grader who is just beginning to learn, like maybe you've just changed their diets and you're seeing all of a sudden these new behaviors and you're seeing other ones fall away, you have to say, that's what matters right now. They can learn fractions later. They can learn how to read better later. This is a healing that is way more important. I just learned how to do equivalent fractions, like a bunch of them. I learned it off of YouTube the other day when I had to teach my Charlie. So I'm telling you, you can learn that stuff later. What's more important is to get their brain to the place where they learn how to learn. Right now, your kids, with everything that's going on in their brains, and if they're detoxing, that is enough. That is so much. Every day for them is survival mode right now. So don't yell at them that they didn't get their paragraph done correctly. That should be the least of your worries. What you want to do is just cultivate where they are right now in their brain healing. If you've got them on their trigger-free diet and it's whole foods and you've got them on their fermented veggies and their bone broth, and you're slowly seeing that they're less freaking out over stuff that they used to freak out over, count that as a win. That is like head of the class right there. They're gonna learn, but don't put upon them that they also need to know stuff that's happening in their classroom just so they can match up with their peers. That can come later down the road. My son Charlie, he was so far behind. And you know, what he said to me today was so interesting, because we were doing our courses and I'm homeschooling him now. And I asked him, do you want to do language arts, science, math, or reading? And he said, I think we should do reading because I hate that one. Then we'll do math because I'm pretty good there. We'll take a break because you know what I think we should do for science is we should actually learn how to make those crunchy veggies, because that's going to change the microbiome. I said, yeah, but you used to not like those. We had done them years ago on the body ecology diet. He said, yeah, but you know what I'm realizing, Mom? If what you're saying is true and it used to work for my brain back then, I think I need a brain boost. And here I am worried that my child will not be okay. Listen, he's thinking logically. He has ideas. He wants to learn something. He already told me he's going to be a brainologist. I think I have to explain a little better that it's not called that. But he said the reason he wants to be a brainologist, he's going to show other ADHD kids how they don't have to feel like they have ADHD. Because he said, I'm going to show them how I know what it feels like in your brain when it feels like it's really fuzzy and loud and noisy. And if you change what you eat and if you take your time, then it actually will go away. And then you're a normal kid. That's what he told me today. So I just want you to know, moms, we don't have to gauge our children's success on a neurotypical child right now. You can't do that. And their pace that they're at right now is not set in stone. Come on, isn't there a subject that you've learned that at first you're like, I don't get this, but as long as you've had the willingness to learn it, it all comes together? Our children will eventually be led to what they love to do. In college, I never took a course in nutrition, neuroplasticity of the brain. Now I have gone back to school and I have attended the Institute of Integrated Nutrition because that was something I was really interested in and something that I had used. But I went to that after I healed Charlie of all that stuff. We keep saying that you need to have a certain degree, you need to have certain grades, you need to be success in college so that you can be a success in life. And I am telling you, not for nothing, but I'm pretty sure that the best education I ever got was my 4 summers at the Garden State Diner. Taught me how to be quick, efficient, count money, be kind to people that I didn't want to be kind to wake up at 4:30 in the morning, even though I didn't want to. That was a great education. And sometimes we get education from places we don't think we're going to get an education from. You want to just keep telling your child they can do it. You want to pump them up. You want to show them that anything they want to learn, they can learn. You want to give them experiences. You want to be that shoulder to cry on when they're like, everybody else is moving so fast. You're like, I know, they are moving too fast. Let's figure this out. So don't be despaired. Don't be discouraged. And I know that it's so easy to be discouraged these days, especially with the environment that we're living in, and especially with everybody pushing that their child can go to the best college. I want you to say, I want my child to go to the best college for them. And it might be a vocation that they go after. You know how wealthy the plumbers are these days and the electricians? Come on. So don't despair. Just because they cannot read today doesn't mean they're not going to be able to read tomorrow. Just because they cannot write an awesome paragraph today doesn't mean they will not be able to write an awesome paragraph in the future. I'd rather have my son Charlie be kind and compassionate and be excited about science, like when he took a cup of vinegar today and stuck an egg in it and wanted to figure out how the heck it was supposed to make it bounce, which it really did. I want him to love learning. He cannot write a paragraph to save himself, but he will one day. I know he will, because he told me he's going to be teaching at Harvard and he's going to be a brainologist, and I'm pretty sure that they are going to need to know how to write paragraphs. I love you, moms. I know some days you don't want to wake up. I know some days it's so hard you think that nothing is going right and that you're not making a dent in your child's healing. Remember that non-inflammatory foods are going to help. Fermented foods really do help when we give the body the best conditions, and we give the gut the best conditions, and we give them nourishing conditions that the brain can calm down. Remember that it could take months to do this, but as soon as you see that first piece of evidence, you need to shout it from the rooftops. You've just proven that healing can happen when the body has the right conditions. So do not get discouraged and do not give up. All right, moms? You got this.